you want to ask questions directly, or whether you're online, your questions will be read out loud by one of our team members, and we're going to answer these as well. So, things to consider when making your application. Well, first of all, affordability. I think that's given. You really want to consider the accommodation that's within your budget. And please don't treat it lightly, because every year we have a few students who kind of overestimate the budget they will be able to afford. And then they kind of come in and, oh, I actually can't afford my room. Can I move to cheaper accommodation? So please make sure you really take it into consideration of how much you can expect from your maintenance loan. Also, another thing to note, most of our students these days tend to apply for ensuite rooms, which of course come with a private bathroom, so then the price of the accommodation goes slightly up. But if you are happy sharing a bathroom, consider options for a wash basin room as well when you'll be sharing a bathroom with other students in your flat, because these options are very budget friendly, and it just leaves you an extra money you can use towards things like going out or enjoying your time. I think we're having some issues with the mic. No, we're back. Thank you. So another thing to consider is whether you want to cater for yourself. Whether you're happy to sort of like make your own meals, or whether you can't be bothered and you would prefer to take your meals in a dining hall. We offer both options, but majority of our accommodation is self-catered. So if you want to be catered, we have one hall which offers that, and it's Casa Lises. Our catering package includes morning and evening meals Monday to Friday. Another important thing to consider is the location of accommodation. Now, one thing we get asked all the time from our students is, which accommodation is closest to my lecture hall? And we would give you one advice: don't base it on just that, because there are other things you really want to consider in terms of location. Chances are you are not going to go to just one building to take your lectures. You're going to go to different buildings across campus. You're also going to want to go to library. You will maybe want to go somewhere specific for lunch. Then you might want to be close to gym, or maybe it's very important for you to be close to a park because you go running every day. So consider all of these options. Also consider where you're going to do your grocery shopping, and base the location on that. Good news is that our accommodation is actually very close to campus. So wherever you choose to live with us, it's going to be within a 15-minute walking distance to Central Campus. Next thing to consider is the wash types. So I've already touched on that. Do you prefer to have your own bathroom and ensuite, or would you want to be comfortable sharing your bathroom with other students, which comes a bit cheaper? We also have more luxurious options available. We have some deluxe rooms, which are essentially an ensuite room, but they are just a bit bigger in size. And we also have studios, which means you'll have your accommodation fully self-contained, so you'll have your own kitchen and your own bathroom. Next thing to consider is whether you want to share your accommodation with both males and females, or whether you want to be with just students of the same gender as you. Now, majority of the accommodation we offer is mixed gender, but if you really strongly prefer to be with your own gender only, you will need to let us know on your application, and we'll take this into consideration when offering you the room. We set aside a few flats in each residence for single gender if it's really important to you. And the last big thing is whether you want to be in a smaller or larger community. Now, this can really affect your student experience, because some of our halls are very large. They accommodate over 1,000 of students, and because of that, they have a very great social life, but they also can get really noisy. So it's up to you really whether you want to be in this big site, which is bustling with life, but at the same time, you might want to be in a smaller site and actually get some sleep. So smaller sites are a bit better in that case, in those terms that you sort of have a bit quieter accommodation, but it's still very social as well. So now we have this little slideshow just to run through the options we have here at Newcastle. I won't do any talking. It's just for you to kind of get the gist of what we have available, but then we'll continue. I hope this gives you some sort of like a good idea of what the options are we have available here at Newcastle University. Now, speaking of what is a bit different about the accommodation we offer here, well, first of all, it's important to mention that Newcastle is consistently being voted as one of the most affordable cities for student life across the UK. So the accommodation we have here is actually very competitively priced. Another thing I already mentioned is our sites are within a very short walk to campus. Newcastle is a very safe city, but still you might want to be very close to the university, and we can offer you that. This year we're very lucky that all our accommodation is within a 15-minute walking distance to Central Campus, so that's the Student Union building. Of course, it may be a bit further or a bit closer depending on when your lectures are. Some of our sites are based directly on campus. Some of them are close to, sort of like on the edge of campus. Those are all residences that are owned directly by the university. We also have some residences that are owned by private providers that are in partnership with us. What it means is that we allocate students to these residences, so we still can guarantee you that you'll be living with those first-year students of Newcastle University, but your accommodation is managed by a different provider. You would have seen some of the partnership sites were on the slides as well. Those change from year to year, so we may have a different availability of those by the time you come to apply with us. The student experience, well, what we can guarantee you is that when you apply for accommodation through Newcastle University services, you will only be living with Newcastle University first-year students. So there is the occasional second or third year student sometimes there, because we also guarantee accommodation for the duration of study to students who have any specific health needs. But aside from that, sorry, can you hear me? Yes. 95% of, even more, 98% really, of your flatmates within our accommodation will be fellow first year students. So you'll get that freshers experience. We also offer flexible. Right, sorry about that. And we're having some difficulties in this talk. Hopefully they won't continue. So we also offer very flexible payment terms, especially if you live directly with Newcastle University. So if you live directly with us, we don't ask you for any sort of prepayment. We don't even ask you for a deposit. Your first accommodation payment will be due on 1st of November, which is after your student loan comes in. So we make sure you don't have to make any expense before you've got the money in your account. If you live with one of our private partners, they may ask you for some form of prepayment, which is usually a deposit. You may also need to pay a small part of your rent in advance. However, it won't be anything major usually. We try to negotiate the best payment terms for you with them. One thing to note though, with the partners is often you would need to have a UK-based guarantor when you're signing accommodation with them, which is someone who basically agrees to take, pays your rent in case you're unable to. We offer some great support as well in the university accommodation as well as the partnership one. We have a Res Life team which is based on site in our residences, and they are the engagement team that sort of create all these events for students in residences. We have something on almost every night. There are the game nights, quiz nights, movie nights. They do online events as well as the actual on-site events, and we have some bigger things on as well, like Christmas parties, Easter egg hunts, and all these things. But aside from that, Res Life team is in the residences also to support you with any things you may need. So we know, you're moving away from home for the first time, chances are that you are, and you might struggle a little bit with getting into grips of living on your own, managing your budget, or learning how to cook. So Res Life team is there to help you with all of these things. They also have drop-in hours, so if you have any issues at all or just looking for advice, you can come and see them and they'll help you out. We've also got receptions in every residence, so if you're not in and your parcel is being delivered, reception can take care of that. And we've got our own maintenance team that deals with any repairs you may need to request. Not that it happens very often. Sorry. Not that it happens very often, but it can sometimes happen that you have some issues in your accommodation, maybe a toilet or something, so log it with the maintenance team. I think I'm getting a new mic, so if you bear with me a second, we'll carry on shortly. Perfect. So, yeah, that's better. Thank you very much. So, in your rent, everything's inclusive. So we provide internet connection free of charge. Your rent also includes your water charges, your electricity, so you don't have to take care about any of that. We take care of it behind the scenes. You just pay your rent, and it's all included. We also have this Facebook page where you can communicate with your flatmates before you arrive. Unfortunately, we can't tell you who they are because of GDPR, but we have this page where you can log in and let them know, hey, I'm living in this and this flat, this is my offer, who else is in my flat, and chances are you'll be able to make friends even before you come to Newcastle University. Accommodation contracts with us do run continuously, so we have a fixed term contract, which is usually 40 weeks. This means it covers you for the entire period of your first year, all the way from freshers until the end of your exam period, and then there's a 2-week extra for you to enjoy Newcastle after you finish your exams. This means that you don't have to clear your room for Easter and Christmas holidays. When you go home, your room is still your own. You can leave all your things inside. No one's going to come in unless for maintenance. And all of our university rooms meet the UUK code, the partnership ones, the ANUC code, which gives you this extra layer of protection to make sure everything will be managed as it should be. And if it is not, we can follow up with that. So, as I mentioned, all of our first-year students are guaranteed accommodation, providing they meet certain criteria. So we're just going to briefly touch on that. So we can guarantee you accommodation if you are enrolled in for a full academic year. And if you're also joining us in the accommodation for the full academic year, because our contracts are fixed term, we don't offer shorter ones. You need to be in the first year of your degree program, because we only provide accommodation for first-year students. You need to be a single student. Well, you don't really need to be single, you just cannot bring your partner or family with you. We have a separate accommodation for those. However, if you're applying to come with your partner or your family, we cannot guarantee that we will be able to give you accommodation because there's limited availability. You need to accept Newcastle University as your firm choice by the UCAS deadline, which is usually in July. And then you also need to submit your application by our application deadline. This may change. This year it was on the 31st of July, but next year it may as well be in June. We will be able to confirm it closer to the time. But keep an eye on that, because it's very important to apply within the period. So as long as you apply in time, meet all the criteria, we can guarantee you an offer of accommodation, essentially a bedroom. What we can't guarantee is your specific choices. We, of course, will do our best to assign you the accommodation that you want, but in some cases we are not able to, but we'll still be able to give you a bedroom in a different residence. So how do you actually go about applying? Well, you can apply as soon as you have an offer with us. And then once we open applications, which normally happens in spring, you're going to get an email invitation to apply. There's no rush to apply immediately because we do not process your application on the date we received it. Essentially, everyone who applies within the period between the opening window and the deadline gets treated the same way. So when you actually want to apply, you need to register online, and we would just recommend that you please don't use your student email address, because you will lose access to it come summer. And this is the email we will use to give you then your accommodation offer, so please make sure to use your personal one instead. Then you will need to make your application choices. So on our application, you'll have 3 choices. You'll rank them in order of preference, and then you'll also be asked to select your alternative preferences. So those are just in case that we are not able to give you one of your three choices. We'll use the alternatives to have a look at what's most important to you. So you'll be able to let us know whether you want to be something really budget friendly, or whether it's really important to you that you get your own ensuite bathroom, or whether you really want to be catered. So once you made your application, made your choices, made your alternative choices, selected whether you want to be mixed gender or single gender, you will then need to submit your application. You can submit it even early on or just before the deadline date. It's up to you. And you can also make changes to it up until the application deadline if you change your mind. We will then be able to make you an accommodation offer once your academic status turns to unconditional firm offer. So this means for majority students, this will be after the A-level results day that you'll confirm your place at Newcastle University, and a few days later, you'll get your accommodation offer from us. So once we have made you the offer, you'll get an email. You'll need to log in online on the same portal where you made your application, and there'll be your contract waiting for you. So you'll need to read through it, make sure you're happy with everything, select your future payment methods. We have actually very flexible payment methods here at Newcastle, so you can pay your accommodation termly or all in one go. It's up to you. And you'll need to do this within a 3-day period. There will be a 3-day window when you have your offer and you need to make a decision. The 3-day window is simply because we will have other students waiting for offers, so you need to make sure you accept it in time. If you don't, the offer might go to a different student who is waiting for this accommodation. And finally, once you've accepted everything, you're going to get your key release email, and we'll follow up a few weeks later with an induction email. We'll just send you a few things you'll have to look at about livings in the halls. You'll also book your arrival slot for the move-in weekend. And then finally, on the arrival weekend, which is usually just before freshers, you are going to arrive and move into your accommodation for registration. Once you've arrived, once you've moved in, settled into Newcastle, if you have any issues, like I said, you can approach your local team at the residence, but also if you would like to speak to us, we are the allocations team, and we are based at Kingsgate, level 2, and we have drop-ins a few times a week, so if there's any bigger issue with your accommodation that maybe means you need to change rooms because something's not quite right, come and see us and we'll try and help. We've also got a telephone here on screen and our email address, but you don't have to note either of these because all of the things we've talked about today are actually on our websites, and also you can reach us directly through the website. We have this contact form you can submit, and then it will be me or my colleagues answering your queries. So thank you all for attention, and do you have any questions for me today? Okay, not in the hall itself. Matt, do we have anything online? No, must have been quite exhaustive then. Okay, well, if you have any further questions, just have a look on our websites because everything's down there, but also give us a call or drop us a line and we'll be happy to answer. Thank you.